Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
All right, everybody. Greetings, space travelers. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on the terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot and oh, so much more. Yeah, no, you don't need to change your screen. It's definitely Rob G in the building tonight on behalf of Mr. David Scott. Dave is not feeling so well tonight, so I said, you know what? I'll go ahead and fill your boots, sir. That way we can definitely still have a live show. So as we are, here we are. We have a great guest tonight, Karen Hill, Mufon Investigator. We're going to be getting into talking about the Atlantian crystal orbs and various other topics. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere tonight. Let me go ahead and jump into the chat and see who has arrived first. Let's take a look at the chat. It looks like we're pretty full here too. Let me go back. I want to guess that it's probably Race Fan, but you never know. I'm never really here on a Monday like this. Yeah, it is Race Fan with the first wrench in. Appreciate you coming in, Race Fan. Thanks for showing up tonight. We got Toth Man stepping in the building. Mr. Toth Man, appreciate you showing up. We got Eternal saying hi, Dave, and SOR fans. Appreciate you showing up, and I know he'll appreciate your well wishes. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery, and we'll go from there. Thanks for coming in. Paul Holland saying, hey, A51D. Not sure what that means, but appreciate you coming in, Paul Holland. Captain K-Rod saying hi, Captain K-Rod. Thanks for showing up here at Spaced Out Radio. Not the after hours, but the regular show during the week, as I'm stepping in for Mr. Dave Scott and filling duties, y'all. Filling duties. We're going to get it in, though. Brown Dwarf saying greetings. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you, Brown Dwarf. Kitty Catty Whack saying, hey, with the flower emojis, heart emojis. So spreading the love. We appreciate you, Kitty Catty Whack. We have Mr. Super Sidewinder. Okay, definitely. Appreciate you coming on in, Mr. Super Sidewinder. Let's see. We got Dragonfly showing up saying, greetings, Dave, Karen, and SOR chat. Thank you, Dragonfly, for coming on in and spreading the love. We appreciate you. We got Tim in the backwoods saying, evening all. Howdy, Dave. Dave would appreciate that. So thank you for coming on in, Tim in the Backwoods. Let's see, getting down the list, we have Jessica Davenport. Jessica Davenport saying, I'm driving all night, guys. Okay, well, listen in. It should be an awesome show. Definitely. Travis. Hey, Travis, saying this is awesome. This is awesome. We are all here pre-show. That's usually how it goes down. You already know, Travis, for sure. So appreciate you coming on in. Let's see. We got Sarah Lick saying, tuning in from St. David, Arizona. Okay, and we know a lot of these things originate from Arizona. We'll be talking about that for sure tonight. So thank you for coming on in, Sarah. We appreciate you. We got Dino Bravo fan with the wavy hand emoji saying, hello, everyone. Hello, Dino Bravo fan. Thank you for showing up. We do appreciate you. We got Chris Laker. Is that your real last name or your Lakers fan? Okay, Chris Laker, appreciate you for coming on in, saying hello right back to you. And let's see, I did say Paula Foss, but let's do it again. Paula Foss, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. Christine saying hi, people. Thank you for coming on in, Christine. Do appreciate you showing up. Miss Mama Catherine Jones saying, good evening, Dave and SOR family. Surprise, surprise, Rob G is stepping in for Dave tonight, and it will be an awesome interview. Dave, get well. Hope you're watching tonight. Get well, though. Let's see. T-Bone saying, hello, Captain, and all. Appreciate you coming on in, T-Bone. Let's get it in. Let's get it in tonight, right? Let's do it. Millennium saying, hey, Dave. Hello, fellow space travelers. We appreciate you coming on in, Millennium, getting it going. Moving down our list here, Sandra Kincaid, good Tuesday morning from the East Coast. Is it already? It is. Well, happy Tuesday morning over there on the East Coast, Sandra Kincaid. Thanks for coming on in tonight. We appreciate you showing up tonight. Getting down the list here. Who else do we have? Carl Bittner stepped in saying, hi, Captain, and all you spaced out peeps. Appreciate you showing up tonight, Carl Bittner. It is going to be a great show. Let's see. Moving down the list here. Paramarv, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up here. Stepping in for Mr. Dave Scott. Yes, sir. Let's see. Jamie Johnson saying, hello, Dave and friends. Appreciate you showing up, Jamie Johnson. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for your support. Moving down the list here. Okay, here we go. We got Astro Fugitive. I just recently found out that there have been Bigfoot sightings in the park close to me, and I never knew about them all my life. Wow, that's pretty wild. Yeah, I'm here in California. You know, it's where the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed. I actually lived up there, Northern California, for a while. Never knew that's where it was filmed. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. All right, CJ Berry, also known as Wild Berry Candy Co. Say good evening, lovelies. Thank you for coming in, CJ Berry. We do appreciate you supporting the show tonight. Getting down the list, Thomas Rock saying, good evening, Dave. Good evening, Thomas Rock. Thanks for coming on in. Marilena saying, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Marilena. Appreciate you coming into the show tonight. Let's go ahead and get it going. Operation Shutdown. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, let's do that. I love rabbit holes. Let's go ahead and definitely go down some rabbit holes here tonight. Moving down the list. Who else do we have here? Who else has come in? Who else has decided to join the show tonight? Deidre C saying good evening to Dave and Wrenches as well as SOR peeps. Deidre C, thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate your showing up here and supporting us tonight. W. David Page saying hi all. Hi, W. David Page. Thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Moving down our list, the Sierra said, I thought Bob was on tonight. I wanted to ask him about my labs. Actually, Bob, I think, is in on Wednesday, and I think I'm filling in for Dave that day as well. So Science Bob should be in. Maybe Lala shows up. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Thanks for coming on in. Phil the Stalker loves this theme music. I do too. It kind of gets you going. Dave really picked a good one there. Thanks for coming on in, Phil the Stalker. We do appreciate you showing up here tonight. Yeah. Okay. Doug Shelby is here. Wait, I got to do it like Dave. The Doug Shelby. Yeah, once again, the best thing about Mondays is SOR time. Hey, y'all, with the wavy hand emoji. Hey, Doug Shelby, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up here tonight as I fill some big shoes, right, for Dave Scott here. Guy Calgary coming on in saying, hello, people. Hello, Guy Calgary. We do appreciate you showing up here at Spaced Out Radio. It is about to go down. We're about to have a great conversation here. And learn a lot, right? Atlantian crystal orbs. Know a little bit about it, but I think we'll get some education here tonight. Let's see, who else do we have? Laura Lobbs saying hello. Hello, Laura Lobbs. Thanks for coming on in. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate you. Let's get down the list here. Okay, Algaray, I'm going down the rabbit hole holding two 150-pound dumbbells. Okay. Yeah. You'll get down the rabbit hole pretty quickly because of gravity, right? So let's go ahead and get it going here. Let's see, moving down the list. Okay, whoa. Evan Walters is here and he's pissed. We love Evan Walters. We do appreciate you coming on in and bringing your pissed of festivities to the show tonight. Thanks for showing up here. We do have Paranormal Pixie Laura saying, good evening, folks. Good evening, Paranormal Pixie Laura. Thank you for showing up and bringing the hatchet, bringing the axe. So trolls, beware, because Paranormal Pixie Laura is here in the building. Let's see. Moving down the list, we have... we do have... Okay, looks like we're almost there. Okay, Digger Dog. Hey, Digger Dog, saying Tim, Marv, Laura. Thanks for coming in, Digger Dog. We do appreciate you showing on up here tonight. Let's see. I promise we're almost to the bottom here. We're getting close. We are getting... Okay, JBD saying good evening. Thank you for coming on in, JBD. We appreciate you. Let's see. Okay, Little Cam 51. It used to be Little Cam 51 from Twitch, right? But I'm noticing with the YouTube emblem now. So appreciate you coming on over either way and supporting this Little Cam 51 with all sorts of emojis here. I don't know what to make of it, but I do appreciate you coming on in. Thanks for your support here. Thanks for showing up. Let's see, moving down the list here, Jacqueline D. Good evening, Earthlings. Good evening, Jacqueline D. Thanks for showing up here. We do appreciate you coming into the show. Tim in the Backwoods. Thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up here to the show tonight. Getting down the list, Dark Secrets. Derek Secrets of the Past Para History. Saying hello from Canada. Hello, Derek Secrets of the Past Para History. Thanks so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up and supporting the show. We are moving down, and I see her. There she is. Van Gold saying, hey, Rob, Karen, and Spaced Out Radio family. Hey, Van Gold, 24K Van Gold at that. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. My guy right here. Aloha, Dave. Buenas noches a todo de Mexico. Good evening to everyone from Mexico. Aloha, Dave. Like I always say, keeping us bilingual, and we appreciate that. Aloha, Dave. Thank you, sir, for showing up. We do appreciate you. Let's see. Moving down the list, we're close to the end here, and I want to say that might be it. Nope, we got Miss Mary. Miss Mary snuck in there and said hello with the wavy hand emoji. Hello, Miss Mary, thanks for coming on in and showing up. Thanks for supporting the show here tonight. Let's see. Moving. To Mothman, is this why Oilers lost and that's why Dave doesn't feel good? I didn't know. I knew they were playing. I didn't know they lost. Okay. Nah, Dave, I'll tell you what happened in a minute here. But that could be it, right? No, I doubt it. Let's see. Getting down the list. President Zaddy says, salute, Rob G. F you, Dave. Dave, I'm sure he's watching, and I'm sure he received that, President Zaddy. So thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you supporting the show, sir. Let's see, moving down the listy, and yeah, Kira is step in the house. She's in the building saying hello, Spaced Out Radio. Oh, yes, it is me stepping in for Dave Scott. It's a team thing, right? We got to get it done. We got to get it done. Rain, sleet, or snow, we were going to get it done, guys. So moving down the list here. Mama Captain Jones is saying, sending love today. Feel better soon. Dave Scott, I hope you're watching. Love is going out to you, sir, and they're wishing you well. And they're missing you, sir. So let's see, getting down the list. Yeah, Algaray, Rob G holding it down. Gotta do it. I gotta do it, right? Could not say no. It's we gotta build this thing, and I am on board to do that. So you got me here tonight. Moving down the list here. Yeah, we got a lot going on here, and I do appreciate everyone who is showing up here tonight. Christine Lynn, hey Rob, filling in for Dave. Hey Christine Lynn, filling in Christine Lynn, stepping in, supporting the show. We do appreciate you. Serenity Trank 60, Raina from Santan Valley, Arizona. Following Karen. Okay, this should be some good stuff then. Thank you for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up. Andy Cowley. Andy Cowley. Is that Mr. Andy Cowley? Thank you for coming on in. We do appreciate the show. Appreciate you coming in and supporting the show. As we move down the list. As we move down, we got a packed house, and that's great. I'm glad that we do, because it should be an awesome show. Let's see, Tito or Titoe. Either way, either one. Thank you so much for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up at the show and supporting Spaced Out Radio. We are going AAO. Say, Rob, I'm so happy you're here. Hi from Texas. Well, thank you for that. I thank you for that. You know, so you're expecting to see Dave Scott pop on the screen, and it's me. And so I really hope that we can bring you just as great of a show tonight. I think it will be just as awesome, because I intend to try to fill those boots tonight here. So thanks for coming on in, AAO. Let's see. There's a lot of love out here in this chat, and I want to make sure we are almost there. We are almost there. Polly Rotterman saying hi, guys. Thank you so much, Polly, for coming on in. Moving down the list, Marianne Robb. I love the last name, Marianne. Marianne Robb. That sounds so awesome. Saying hi, Kira. Thank you for coming on in, Marianne. That is awesome that you came in to support Spaced Out Radio tonight. We do appreciate you. Phil the Stalker, is this a repeat show? If this was a repeat show, how could I read your comment, Phil the Stalker? Thanks for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up tonight. Let's get down the list here. Dave Walters, thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. It's a never-ending list. Malou, skip to Malou. Thanks for coming on in. SOR time. Yes, it is. We appreciate you showing up. And the chat is moving. We are almost to the bottom here. I think we got everybody. I don't see any new names. Oh, CS. I can't forget CS. Stop the show. CS has stepped in the building saying, hello all. What's happened? Dave Scott is not feeling well. He is not feeling well. If you remember on Friday, he had an earache, right? And that is kind of manifested into something that is bothering him pretty bad right now. But I think he'll be okay soon. Anita, Habachuk. Tell me if I said that right. I probably didn't, but thank you so much for coming on in, Anita. We do appreciate you showing up here tonight. Richard Minnick, thank you for coming in. Great event. What holes are we going down tonight? I don't even know, Richard Minnick. We're about to find out. We are about to find out. I just know we're going down a rabbit hole, and I'm all for that. And that's what we're going to do. Pete Toey, appreciate the super chat. Dave does as well. Thank you for your support of Spaced Out Radio. And thanks for getting it kicked off tonight, right? Let's have that great energy and have a great show. We do appreciate you. And I swear we're almost done here. Susan Alloway. Hey, Susan Alloway. Hey, Rob G and everyone. Appreciate you coming on in. JSCO77. Hi, folks. Appreciate you, JSCO, coming on in. Kira with the super chat saying the angels brought us Rob and Karen tonight. Blessings abound. Thank you so much, Kira. And we promise it'll be an awesome, awesome show tonight. Let's see. Yeah, K-Rod, Captain K-Rod, the chat is on fire. And when I think I'm at the end, I'm not. So Puck Elf, thank you for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up here. Angels Are Life, Nikki, thank you so much for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up. Miss Twinkle, thank you for coming on in. What rabbit hole? LOL, I know, exactly. Definitely. TETs, hi all. We appreciate you showing up here. Yes, the chat is definitely jumping, and it won't let me get to the end. That's how jumping it is. Oilers got oil, Billy Gunn says. Thanks for coming on in, Billy Gunn, and giving us the update. Sure, if Dave is watching, he does not appreciate that, but hey. Let's see. All right. We are up to date now. Appreciate everybody for coming on in here to Spaced Out Radio. Yes, we're going to have a great show tonight. So, as I said before, we have Karen Hill, who we're about to bring up here, who is a Mufon investigator. She is into other various things. We're going to talk about potentially giants, paranormal, may even definitely jumping into the Atlantian crystal orb, which I know a little bit about, and maybe we'll have some things that we can show as well. So without further ado, I would love to go ahead and bring our guest of the night onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise and make some noise in the chat. Let me see the clapping emojis in the chat for our guest tonight, Karen Hill. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, Karen. I'm doing awesome. So, from what I understand, we're going to be jumping down a rabbit hole tonight, and I think that's actually pretty awesome. I don't know what to expect here. I know we're going to be covering some other topics like the Atlantean crystal orbs. We have some things that we'll show, and we'll probably push that more for hour 2. What I did want to do, and like I do with anyone that I meet for the first time, is kind of wanting to get to know you and find out. I don't know if you've had any experiences ever or what your connection is with the phenomena, if any. But would you mind starting at like when you were a child and kind of what led you into the path to eventually be where you're at today?
Okay. I can't think of any like haunting moment that I've ever had as a child that would like throw trauma at me to like really like crawl in this rabbit hole. But like, I don't know, I guess maybe it started with Ancient Aliens as for a lot of people. But I guess Ancient Aliens opened that door, and then it was like one documentary after another, and then like ghost shows, and then other like dimension shows, and then it just I figured out that like everything is kind of connected in the same way, and I guess I'm trying to find more pieces of this puzzle and figure out where it's going, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense, actually, and it is. And so now, yeah, that's actually the rabbit hole right there, right?
Yeah.
It's once you start with and yeah, a lot of us started, and I can say I had a similar journey. Maybe Ancient Aliens and those type of shows probably is what got me into it as well. Similar stories, but when the moment that you realize that wow, this stuff is real, and then you kind of went further into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
How did you end up getting to Mufon? Like, I mean, obviously, was it because you wanted to have a hand in trying to uncover what these things were, or what was it?
I guess it was all volunteering there. In 2015, I moved to Phoenix to go to school, and they had MUFON meetings there, and they had some incredible speakers, and I would just go and sit in the audience and learn about my favorite topics. And then in the fall, they have kind of like a MUFON camping trip, and I just attended, and they have had like MUFON field investigator classes, and I've never been able to attend one because of schedule conflicts. But I mean, it sounded like an amazing scientific adventure. But I went to the camp out because it was the next best thing, and I told the director that I was actually moving back to Tucson, and she kind of always wanted me to be investigator, but I just kind of didn't have time. But she told me that the MUFON director for Tucson stepped down, and she asked if I would volunteer for that position. And without really thinking about it, I said yes. And I had to think about it a lot and figure out how I was going to make this possible. But I guess 8 months later, I had my first Tucson MUFON meeting, or a MUFON meeting in Tucson. And actually, this month is going to be our 1-year anniversary, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is actually cool. I mean, like I said, getting out there and being able to play a part in unraveling the mystery of what this is, I think is awesome. And it's something I've considered too. I have a friend that's in Mufon, Texas. And you're in the perfect place. You're out there in Arizona, where I know there has to be a lot of submissions on reported sightings. Is there any? What are some of the ones that you're able to speak about that came across your desk that you were just like, wow?
I guess if I've had like 12 cases that I reviewed, one definitely sticks out. But I know that I had at least two that were like, I can't explain what that was through science and apps, so that I guess it was unexplainable and called like an unknown. But one of them was, I had a witness who, it was actually in Tucson, and he lived over the West Mountains, and it was raining, and he was driving home. It was maybe 1 a.m, and there was lightning, and off to his like 11 o'clock, there was like lightning, and it just lit up the sky. But he saw like this black blimp looking thing, and it had like lights on its ribs, and he was just looking at it like, that's interesting. And then when it got to his 10 o'clock, he saw like 3 helicopters also following it. Like there was another lightning strike, and then he saw the helicopters, and he was like, that's crazy. And then he pulled over his car and rolled down the window to try to get a better look. And because it was raining, like he only rolled down the window just a little bit because he would just be splashed with water. But in doing so, he noticed his car was malfunctioning, and it wouldn't immediately start back up again. And I guess before he knew it, like it was headed towards Tucson. So like they were traveling pretty fast, he said. And then the next few days, a fingerprint sized spot developed on the side of his nose that was closest to the window. So whatever it was possibly left a spot on his nose, and he went to the doctor and was like, what is this? And the doctor was like, well, it's not cancerous. I wouldn't worry about it, but it's still there.
Wow, that's insane. And you hear stories about physical effects from some of these sightings. I had an awesome, crazy sighting, but no physical effects. But what you mentioned when you say blimp-shaped object, when you categorize those, does that fall into like the cylindrical? I mean, cigar shapes?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
How if you had to judge with the different shapes, which ones come up the most or are reported the most?
From what I've seen on from the accounts that I get, I would say like the flying saucer disc shape.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
There are some, and maybe I can run this by you afterwards. I'll send you something after the show. But
Sure.
I've been seeing, like my sighting were spheres, like these white spheres. Have you ever gotten white spheres?
Like during the day or at night?
Yeah, during the day specifically.
Huh. Are they close to you?
I'd say the ones that I captured, and I can also send you a video after the show. It was, I'd say, probably about 1,000 feet altitude. And there are other Mufon case numbers, and I'll send you those too. Maybe you'll be able to look into those. But I'm just trying to, whenever I speak to someone from Mufon, I just try to gauge like what people are seeing. And I've spoken to different representatives from different states to kind of see if what I saw is something that was common. So that's kind of like a selfish question. But also, the government says that, per their UAP report, that a lot of the things that they're seeing are spheres. So I'm just trying to really connect the dots on that. What do you get besides UFOs? Do you get cryptid reports or anything outside of UFOs?
No, I would love to get cryptid reports. That would be totally spooky. I'm kind of bummed that there isn't a cryptid report for MUFON, because I feel like that would have to be related, because like you don't necessarily know what you're seeing. I mean, it could be extraterrestrial in nature.
Right. And if you get orbs, that some people report orbs right before or after a Bigfoot sighting. So you would think the orbs themselves would be something that are reported to MUFON, then the cryptid experience should be too. Maybe that's something that could be added, because when you say that, I thought that MUFON did catalog like cryptid sightings. So seeing that they don't, there's an opportunity for someone to pick up and maybe gather some data on some of these other things, because like you said earlier, you kind of started to see with the programs you were watching that these things were probably related or connected.
Yeah.
So like, what is your goal within this? I mean, to get answers, or is there any specific thing you're trying to find out, or is it just to uncover the secret totally?
I guess it's just for me to collect information. Like, I guess for me, like, I've always been like in search for magic, and I feel like I've always been like, I would categorize myself as like a forever student. Like, I always want to be learning, and if there's like a time where like the learning stops, that's going to be very depressing. But like, I just want all of it, and then just categorize it, and then just slowly figure it out. And like, there might never be like a definite answer, which would be a bummer. But like, if you just have a huge catalog of like just specimens of like everything, like you feel like if your like mind is a museum of like all of these things, like that's cool enough.
Yeah. I'm understanding then now, more and more the rabbit holes. Like, so you love to be in rabbit holes, right? Because it's you just keep digging, and that's so I can relate to that and understand that. So as far as MUFON goes, we have a friend of the show, Melinda Leslie. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her.
Yes.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
So she comes in and she often shows all sorts of things that she's capturing in the sky out there by Sedona. And it's the perfect place. Wide open skies, clear most of the time to be able to capture these things. Are you privy to numbers like Arizona maybe compared to other states? Where does Arizona rank, if you had to guess?
The last time I saw, we were definitely in the top 10. And then I saw like a weird review that said Tucson was number 1 in Arizona. And I thought like, there's no way, because like Sedona has so many different UFO sighting tours, and I don't know any in Tucson. So it was like, why would you say that? Like, who is doing this report? Because they did it wrong.
Yeah, and to me, for whatever reason, because I'm in California here, Bakersfield, so in the same general geometric area, and so I figure, there's a lot of California. I know at one time was like listed in, I think, number one at one point. And I feel like for some reason that it seems like the southwestern, western states have experienced more UFOs than the east. Would that be an accurate statement?
Um, I guess to my knowledge, I would say yes, but I do know that the Appalachian Mountains are particularly creepy and do have a lot of activity. But
Yeah.
who knows if all these people are like looking up and documenting?
Well,
I don't know what they do over there.
part. That's the other part. Yeah, yeah, because and maybe that might be actually key right there too, because yeah, you're doing a lot of this looking down, and a lot of the skeptics, a lot of people who say they haven't seen anything or that there's nothing to see there. The next question that I ask them is, do you look up? Like, when's the last time you actually sat outside and looked up? Because I find that from talking to different people that there are really easy ways to potentially have a sighting or a spotting. Have you been out on a skywatch tour yourself?
Yes, I've actually gone out with Melinda Leslie a lot of times.
Ah,
And
awesome.
yeah, I had my own night vision monoscope, and I created a jig that would hold my phone so I can actually record what I see with her. And I think I started in 2016 with her, and then I've probably been doing it like once or twice a year ever since then. And I have not got any structured craft, which I'm really jealous about. But one day I better, because I definitely want that undeniable, just tangible like proof, just for, I don't know, just for my own bragging rights. But I forgot where I was going with this, but yeah, she has shared some of my footage before. Like mostly with her stuff, I've caught like power ups, which is where it's like it starts out as like a small just star, and then she asks it to power up, and then it just goes like, "Phoom," and then for a few seconds, and then it just goes back to its normal dot and just like flies away. And then I've caught some doubles and triples with her, and I think a quadruple. And recently, since September, she's been very fascinated with these amber lights that keep coming out of, I wouldn't say a mountain, I guess a small hill. And they just keep
Oh
like,
yes,
they'll
yeah.
just come up and then go and then just disappear, and then more will come up. And then she said a few times have these crafts like gone reverse, where they'll just pop in, and then they'll all go down to the same point.
Yeah, yeah. We talked. She's a good friend. I just love Melinda Leslie. We actually met in Reno about a month ago now, and we
Cool.
went. She took us on a skywatch, so I got to kind of experience that, and she was doing the same calling upon it like you were talking about. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But I didn't know you knew her, so that's awesome.
Mhm.
But I know for sure if she will. If there's anybody out there that's gonna help you have that sighting, I know it'll be her.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I know you're into the paranormal as well. What
Yeah.
about the paranormal excites you or gets you interested? What questions do you have for the paranormal?
I guess it's all the questions. Like, what is it? What are you doing here? What else can you do? Like, I feel like ghosts would fall in there, and then Bigfoot and other cryptids. Mm, I guess anything that like you can't physically explain or see, but like if I don't know, like if things in your house like fall off, and like nothing was vibrating and gravity wasn't really messing with that, like I would say that's fun and spooky and paranormal. Like I would not want to investigate that, but I would from afar, because I wouldn't want any of that bad juju around me. But I mean, Utah's close by, and they've got a lot of skinwalker stories,
Yeah.
which is definitely exciting to hear from afar. In August, I'm going to have two ex police officers, and they're going to come and talk about cryptids. It's kind of like when cryptids or when UFOs or ghosts meet police officers and like what they do for that. So they have like a bunch of cases that they're going to come talk to us in Tucson for 2 hours.
That's awesome. I think I know who you're talking about. Is a UAPPD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed them too. They're all that.
Sweet.
Yes, that's gonna be really good there.
Yeah.
With the paranormal, because like when I jump down a rabbit hole, as I often do, and get to rambling, what I end up doing is I end up throwing theories at the wall, different theories about what I think I'm experiencing or seeing or what that might be. What is your, if you've ever processed any thoughts on what you think is going on, right? We don't know what's going on. I don't think none of us actually do. But when you think about it and you try to process theories, what do you think there is to it as far as the paranormal goes? Like, because I look at it as, just to give you an example, is, you know, and I'll tell you, I actually had some crazy experiences myself, but I think almost like maybe they're in adjacent realm or in even a dimension, is other people say, like a parallel dimension, and they kind of peek through every so often is kind of how I feel about it. What theories have you come up with, or what do you think about when you try to process what it is that you are absorbing?
I guess recently I've had like a few ghost stories and then like near-death experiences stories flown my way, but like I don't know, I feel like there's definitely like another dimension, and who knows what all is in there. And like it's scary to think like, what if they can see us? What if they can see everything? And it's almost like everything is kind of like they can pierce it. Like there's a lot of angel stories, there's a lot of demon stories, there's a lot of ghost stories, there's a lot of guardian angel and just spirits and elementals. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like that is like a huge pool to just jump in, and like to think like can you touch a ghost? I mean, some people I've heard have, like if they're like fighting with it, but then like it's kind of like you're swimming in nothing if there's like a ghost nearby. Actually, that reminds me of something. I did have a ghost encounter once, but it was weird because it felt like my body entered a cloud, and it wasn't a nice feeling. And I felt like my breath was like being sucked out of my mouth, and I was just falling, and I was just like, this is not good, because I don't know how to get out of it, because I don't know how to deal with this. But like I threw my momentum behind me and I fell backwards out of this and I ran away.
Yeah. So what was like the story behind that? Where were you at? Like, what were the details to it? If you wouldn't mind telling. Some people don't like to share, but if you're comfortable, I would.
Yeah, I could totally share. I was at a friend's house, and it was in college, and it was around midnight, and there was one girl in her bedroom and another girl watching TV, and I was in the kitchen because I was hungry. And this was a weird house. Like it was a new built house. So we're like, no one died here. We're fine. But like, if there were only girls in the house, like sometimes like women's voices would come out of nowhere. Like it was repeating what someone said. And so there was a lot of like, what did you say? Like, I couldn't hear you. I was in the other room, and they're like, I didn't say anything. But that particular night, the girl in the TV room and me, we both heard the girl in the bedroom screaming bloody murder. And like, I knew like it was in there with her. And we kind of both went to go, like I went first. I like went out of the kitchen into the hallway to go like run to her door room. And I remember it wasn't there. Like it was kind of a trap. Like it set a trap to get me instead, or whoever went to go save her. But like I was like halfway down the hall, and it was just like my body went into this cloud, and like it kind of felt like water, not temperature wise, but like how your movement there's friction. And I was just like, oh, and like my eyes were closed, and like I just felt like all my breath coming out, and I was just like, this is not good. And then I tipped myself backwards, and then I crawled back to this other girl, and I was like, I need you. and then like we both went, and then like I turned the light on, and then we went to the bedroom door, and like I actually kicked it open, and we were both like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Why are you guys screaming?" And we're like, "We heard you screaming," and she was like, "I wasn't screaming." And then at that point, like my body was just covered in goosebumps because I was like, "It set a trap for me. Like this was intelligent. That's not cool."
Yeah, I to back that up, and I definitely hear people say that with paranormal encounters that they'll feel like almost like they're walking through cold air or the temperature change. I actually had an experience here with the shadow person that I've shown here a million times. And actually, you know what? Because you're into this, I will show it to you as well.
Okay.
But this is pretty. You almost have to wonder. When you see something like this, you're like, okay, there must be more to this. And let me find it here. Okay. So this is a picture. Let me get this off the screen here. This is a picture of a shadow person that was taken in my house. Let me get a closer image so you can kind of see the outline details. So the backstory really quickly is what happened is my daughter was standing in this hallway on FaceTime with their friends. You can see in the upper right corner, and she was doing dances here, TikTok dances here in the hallway. Her phone is like on a mount on her door, and she had to run to the restroom, which is the door you see to the right. So she goes in there. While she's in there, her friends see something in the frame, and they hit the capture button to capture it. She comes out. They go ahead and say, "We saw something in your house. There's somebody in your house." They sent her the image, and then this is what it was. She didn't understand what it was. I ended up coming home late. This was maybe midnight. I came home right after this happened, and when we walked in, she showed us this photo. I tried to explain to her. Well, I didn't really. I just told her she should look into what a shadow person is. I didn't want to scare her. So she went ahead, did her research later, like we talked a day or so later, and asked her again. And she was like really shook up and scared about what she had learned about these things. And, it's just proof that these things actually that they're there. And it's like, well, what are they? And what do they mean? So once again, a rabbit hole. I'm currently in a rabbit hole that is so deep that I can't even, begin to imagine. But what do you feel like, like for instance, something like that? Would you feel like something like that would be something like I want to say almost like a dead person or a spirit, or maybe something else, right? Because I ride a line between these extraterrestrials that we're investigating, that maybe they cloak themselves and they kind of step in they are what shadow people are, or maybe that these are someone who has passed on, is kind of peeking, like you said, through the veil, into our own dimension. Like, if you just going down a rabbit hole, if you were looking at data, what would be your explanation for something like that?
I guess all of my ghost information I've collected from dead files from the Channel Channel, but I don't think that shadow people are people. I think they're definitely something else, and it's definitely something dark. And I don't know why they're here. I've never encountered one, knock on wood, and I hope I never do. Like that's I don't know what I would do if I saw a shadow. But yeah, I would definitely say something else. I don't know what else.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And like I said, this whole journey that we're all on, we're just trying to figure these things out, right? That's what you're investigating when you're with Mufon. You don't know what it is, but you're looking into the details and then trying to formulate an answer at the end of the day for the people who submit their requests, which I've also submitted requests to Mufon as well. But so it's an interesting thing, to continue trying to uncover and search for these answers. Now, I was reading through your bio, and it stated that you had an interest in like giants.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. What do you know about that, or what have you uncovered since you've been looking into that?
Okay. I guess most of my giant information has come from a YouTuber called Terry Carter, but he started out selling mining equipment to miners in Utah, and then all these old timers would stop and talk to him about things that they have found out there, and he was like, "I need to quit my job and just go around and interview these men before they pass, and then their stories are gone forever." But one man in particular, his name was Robert Shrewsbury. He became my pen pal for a few years, but he was into mineralogy and geology, but he knew people who would just regular people who would be drilling for to put a well on their property, and then they would breach through tunnels, and then they would follow them, and at the end of the tunnel there would just be a giant skeleton with red hair, and then some would have 2 rows of teeth, and they would measure them, and they would be like 10 feet to 12 feet tall. And then unfortunately these owners would go tell like the Smithsonian or the government, and then they would come over and be like, "You see this part of your property? You don't own it anymore. It's no longer yours. It's ours." Yeah. And Utah is full of giant stories. And he was born in 1950, and he said that when he was like before the age of 10, there was a giant skeleton erected in his little town square of Kanab, I think it was. And then like sometime after he turned 10, it disappeared, and he was just like, "Where did it go?" And like no one really knew, and no one talked about it. But he's found some pretty interesting things. One, there was kind of like a clay ball that he found with a giant skeleton, and I don't know if it broke open or if he found it broken, I don't know. But inside it was straw, and then inside that was a radioactive ball. And he thinks that this was kind of like technology of some kind. But then also along with some of these caves that they found, like, of course, treasure, but there would be crystal spheres, which also connected all my other dots. But I was like, that's really interesting. But he connected it further. He was a wizard, which is awesome to think about. But I told him that, and he laughed, and he's like, "A lot of people have said that about me." But he was like deep into religions, but like not just one, like all of them. And like he would read ancient Bibles, and he mentioned like they would talk about the giants and the Nephilim, but he would like he believes that he figured out how King Solomon lit his mines, because like there's no like torch marks on like the ceiling, and then plus with the torches you're like zapping your oxygen to breathe to mine all this stuff. But he figured out that if you had like a beryl crystal, which is kind of like an emerald, or an emerald is a form of beryl crystal. And then if you have something radioactive and you like push them together, then the crystal is going to light up bright like the surface of the sun. And he believes that's how King Solomon lit his mines. And then he believes that's what they were finding in some of these tunnels in the Southwest.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something to that, because you figure back in that time, if fire was the only way that they were saying that you'd think carbon monoxide would be stop them from being able to successfully do that. So that's interesting to look into as far as the giants go, because once again, this is something I'm actually pretty new to it, and it's something that I'm going to look into further. Do you know of any exhibits or whatever had become of any of the bodies that they had dug up?
They're all like in hiding. Like there's like a big, like I guess the circles that I'm in, everyone says that the Smithsonian just is known for taking the skeletons and in either getting rid of them or destroying them.
Right. That's true. That's true. Now I
Mhm.
know we'll be getting into some of the crystals and kind of what that's all about here in hour two. I did want to touch on at least one other thing before we go to break. It says that you are interested and you look into cryptids. What cryptids are fascinate you the most? Like, which one is your number one top cryptid?
I would say right now Bigfoot. Like, I guess at first I thought Bigfoot was kind of boring because I originally thought it's either like a creature that's really good at hide and go seek, or it's an
Right.
alien. But I was watching the show like Expedition Bigfoot, and I think it was in the fourth season where they caught a Bigfoot creature cloaking, and then that piqued my interest because I was like, that's very interesting and not something I would have thought would have been possible for like if he was just a monkey
Right.
that
Right.
was just really good at hiding. But yeah, they had like a lidar dog going in this tunnel, and then like the lidar camera found like this. It was like a really large thing with like at the shoulders, the head, and it was just kind of crouched down. And then it had a regular camera on top of it, and then they were both looking down this tunnel at the same time. And then like you see the cave wall kind of like it's a clear, but it's like wavy clear. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
we just caught something that we can't see it, but we saw something weird happen. And so I guess with that, I'm into Bigfoot. However, in Arizona, we had a lot of El Chupacabra stories for like a good 5 years before they died out. And then we have the awesome jackalope.
Oh,
And we don't really have a lot of Dogman stories, but I've heard of a few different Dogman stories in Sedona. But maybe it's too hot for Dogman in southern Arizona.
you would think, right? If they were terrestrial with all the hair they're supposed to have, that why would they be in a location like that? Because usually that's not the case. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And as far as Bigfoot goes, yes, I've talked to many Bigfoot researchers, and they also talk about because I always ask, I'm like, do you feel like it's terrestrial, or do you feel like maybe it's stepping in and out of another dimension? Some will
Yeah.
say that they believe that yeah, it steps in and out of another dimension because that would explain the why you can't find them part. But then and also why they would disappear right after you see it. But then there's
Yeah.
also those that say that they think that they do cloak.
Yeah.
And there's theories behind that. But then that same wavy almost distortion kind of what that you're talking about, like heat wave sort of distortion is
Mm-hmm.
something that they report with extraterrestrials too. So, then that kind of leans in. I always ask the question when it comes to Bigfoot, and like, they had Star Wars, and Star Wars had Chewbacca, who was obviously a Bigfoot, and he's on a spaceship with these people traveling space. So I'm like, is there something to that? I don't really know. But it's a question you have to ask because you go back in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they
Mm-hmm.
said Spielberg had some information to be able to create that movie. And I'm like, well, did George Lucas have the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah. And I've heard that like for the movie The Predator, how that creature can cloak, and
Yeah.
how his son Joel Hynek was responsible for that creature's like the I don't know if he was the art director or something, but he was responsible for that creature's cloaking. And interestingly enough, I talked to Joel Hynek over the weekend, and I was like, your predator creature was cloaking just like Bigfoot. How did you know? And him and his brother were both like, what? Like it cloaks? Bigfoot can cloak? And I'm like, yes. And that was like a dead end that just like poof to me. It was just like either they're lying or it was a total coincidence that he was in charge of Predator and he made it cloak.
Yeah, that's like art imitates life, imitates art. That chicken or the
Yeah.
egg or the thing that could another rabbit hole, right? So
Yeah.
with that being said, right now, Karen, we're at the end of the hour, so we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be right back here on Spaced Out Radio.
Cool.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Space Style Radio. Hour number 2, not after hour number 2, but hour number 2, as I fill in tonight for the awesome Davy Boy Scott, as we go ahead and get ready to get back into this. But first, space travelers, you're already a space traveler. Consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right, you can join our Spaced Out Radio Spaced Out Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. As we go ahead and get ready to jump back into the conversation with Karen Hill, Mufon Investigator, and we're going to now get into what the thumbnail says, right? The Atlantian crystal spheres. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take this away. I know a little bit about it, and I know you sent some slides over that we'll go ahead and actually bring up as well. But yeah, you can go ahead and jump right into it if you like.
All right, cool. Well, this is one of my favorite stories, mostly because it involves Arizona, which I love. This is an interesting story because I first heard about it, I guess, on YouTube. It was an old episode of In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, and he just did an episode of the Bermuda Triangle. But this was a story where this treasure hunter from Mesa, Arizona. So like in Florida or off the East Coast, whenever there's a hurricane, all those sands like shift and you can find like sunken galleons pretty easily. And so there was like a storm. It was hurricane season. So him and like 4-ish of his buddies went to Miami to go look for pirate treasure. And they kind of went at a bad time. Like the seas were rough. And then there was one storm that just took out a lot of their equipment, like their cameras and I guess some compasses. And like he said that like they were holding, like they were kind of docked. They were holding on to mangroves before, so like their boat wouldn't like drift off into sea. And then like in the morning, like they didn't have a lot of equipment, and the compasses they had were all spinning, and they didn't know where they were. And they're like, let's just dive right now and then call it a day and just try to recollect our thoughts. But so they went down, and they said it was probably they found like an underwater city, and he said it kind of looked Greek, it kind of looked Egyptian, and he believes it was like 5 miles wide, and part of it was still murky. And I guess a few days before, like he had almost died. He was at the bottom of the ocean. I think he said a boat hit him, but he just heard a voice that said, "You're not dead yet. Like, keep going." And he surfaced. But now he heard that voice again, and he saw a pyramid in the water off to the distance. And it was kind of like mirror-like, and on top of this pyramid was like a blue capstone, and he was swimming around it, and he found an entrance. And at this point, like he left his buddies, and he was the only one who went in this underwater pyramid. And when he went in, he found a room with 7 chairs all in a circle. There's stone chairs. One of the chairs was higher than the other. And then in the center of the chairs was a pedestal, and then 2 bronze hands, like in this picture, like they're holding. And then there's a crystal ball in it. And then hanging from the ceiling was like a golden rod, and it was like a golden spear, and it was like going to stab it. And then there was like a ruby at the end of it, and it was pointing at the crystal ball. And he really wanted the spear because it looked metal, it looked valuable, but it wasn't budging. And then he wanted the hands because they kind of looked bronze, but they weren't moving. But trying to pull the hands, he loosened the crystal ball, and that was the only loose thing in the room for him to take. So he just took that. And when he left the pyramid, he heard the voice say, you got what you came for, now never come back. And I don't remember the story if the other divers heard that or not, but the other divers were just touring this sunken city, and they found these artifacts that, well, this was in the late 1960s. So what they found was they could only describe as calculators. They were just dark calculators with like buttons. I guess there wasn't a screen, and they didn't know what they had. But then they just collected everything and then went home. And then this treasure hunter guy, his name was Ray Brown, and he didn't tell anybody about the crystal ball for 5 to 7 years. And he knew it was precious. He just didn't know what to do because, one, he was afraid that the government was going to take it from him, which is sad, but understandable.
You're right.
And then he actually got in touch with Marcel Vogel, who at the time was like the leading crystal scientist, and he worked at IBM. So he was like a legit scientist. But then he was discovering energy in crystals. Like he went from like science to like crystal science, which was awesome. And like I feel like blessed that he got to hold this ball, because like if anyone deserved to hold that ball like he did. And in the show they did like experiments that like blow like known physics out of the water. Like they were trying to poke the crystal ball with a stainless steel rod, and like if this is the ball and they're trying to poke it, like it would like just start rising up in the air. Like they couldn't poke it, and stainless steel is not magnetic, and they couldn't figure out like, so there was no like magnetic properties about it, but they couldn't figure out like why the stainless steel wasn't going to touch it. And then everyone who held this crystal orb felt like an electric charge from it. And I have a friend in Sedona who was like blessed enough to actually hold it. And she said she held it with 2 hands and against her chest, because she said that it felt alive, like it was just going to pop out and like drop on the floor and break. So she was just like holding it like, I don't want it to be broken. And so like when Ray brought it back, it just stayed in Arizona, which is cool. But then when he was dying and he gifted it to a friend, and then this person had it for I think less than a year, but it was too powerful for them to own, so he gave it away to this person named Arthur, and that was in 1994. And so Arthur didn't really know what to do with it, but it kind of felt like maybe a Gollum moment where it was definitely his precious. And he let the crystal orb take charge, and there would be like metaphysical and crystal events, and he would take the orb out there and he would let the orb pick like who got to see this thing. And there was a woman named Liz Alpert, and she was standing in line to see the Mitchell Hedges skull when Arthur came up, and he was like, the orb wants you to see it. And she was just like, what? And then he had it in a leather pouch, but then like he showed it to her and she held it, and she said it was like going into another dimension. Like she just saw like a whole other universe, and it was probably like a drug. And she was just like, wow, like that's very impressive. And he said the orb wanted to meet her. And they actually became partners. And then they would travel together. Like they're both from Arizona, and I think they were in California at the time. I don't know, but they would travel together to different like crystal ball or crystal skull or just other metaphysical conventions together with the orb. And I remember in 2009 there was like a big like a crystal skull event where on 999 September 9, 2009. Maybe it was 9 crystal skulls, but a bunch of crystal skulls were coming together for the first time, just I guess to talk to each other. But I remember seeing that on Facebook and wishing like I could go, but like I didn't even have a car back then. But that would have been an event to go, and that crystal ball actually was there, so that was definitely a missed opportunity. But I'm trying to look at my notes here. So Liz Alpert, she's an artist. She does a lot of things. But one of the things she was doing, she was making jewelry. And Arthur was interesting. Like he told her like a few different times, like I want you to sleep with this orb. And she was like, okay. And she said like she couldn't sleep because she would just put it on the bed next to her, and she said it was like sleeping next to a spotlight but of energy, and she's just like trying to sleep, and she's like, I can't do this. Why would he ask me to do this? And sometimes he would ask her to bathe with it, but there was something with water and the crystal orb, probably because it came from the sea. I don't know, but Arthur kept this ball in a Tupperware of distilled water in his closet. She also named it Anna, which I find adorable. But this water, like Liz would make like crystal quartz beaded jewelry, and then she would let it sit and bathe with the Atlantean orb for, I don't know, 24, 48 hours, and then she would sell it. And she believed that some part of the energy from the orb kind of transfused into her jewelry, which you can actually buy right now. She still has her store online. Just, I guess, look for Atlantean orb jewelry and you'll find it. But I actually bought 3 of them because I was just fascinated with the story. And the story gets kind of dark. Did you want to show, I guess, what the crystal ball looked like?
Yeah, definitely. And just to recap before we jump in there, it was because I know there was a couple things that he said about that. It was 1969, Dr. Ray Brown scuba diving off of the Bimini coast, Bahamas. He was a treasure hunter, adventurer. He was actually there searching for something else, and ended up stumbling upon this. And I guess like you stated, the sand floors had shifted due to the weather, and he ended up seeing the pyramid. I think he said like 400 feet tall is what he said. And when he went in there and did exactly what you said, one key thing that kind of blew my mind is he said that it was free of algae and coral, so it's like it was still perfectly preserved on the inside. And when he went in there, he noticed that rod you mentioned hanging with the ruby. He tried to move that, he couldn't get it. Ended up seeing the sphere. It was like some hands holding a sphere like that, and he ended up recovering the sphere, as you said. And then one thing that I did find out is that because this is supposedly supposed to, he believes that it's from the lost city of Atlantis, is what he thinks that the ruins were that he discovered. And that
Arthur did, but Ray Brown didn't believe that. He didn't know what it was, so he didn't know. He said he didn't know.
And then supposedly from the lost city of Atlantis, there was supposedly, I guess, as the story goes, there were supposed to have been 4 spheres. They said 2 of them potentially have been destroyed back in those times, and then which would leave 2, which one of them apparently would be the one he discovered, and then they think that the other one is still yet to be discovered. So as we jump into the slides you put together here with the photo, and this is what is this here?
That was me trying to figure out where he was, because he said he was like 100 miles from Miami. So the big red circle is like 100 miles radius from Miami. And then he said he was going toward the Bimini Islands. And then he said he passed Andros Islands. And then he was hanging on to the mangroves around the Berry Islands. And then I think he said they floated 25 miles from that near the tongue of the ocean. And so like the red rectangle I have is, I guess, the area where he could have been to look for it. And then the 5x5, he said it was like a 5 mile wide, 5x5 mile wide city. And so like that's my yellow square.
Okay, and let me make it bigger again here. Okay, so then we move to the next slide.
Oh, that was kind of like a rendition of what it looked like inside, with the 7 chairs, and then the podium in the middle, and then the crystal orb and the sphere.
and that rod hanging from the roof. So he said he swam. He said because this is full of water. Obviously, it's underwater. He said he swam up to the top and tried to dislodge this, and it wouldn't dislodge. So he swam back down to the podium you show there, and that's when he was able to get the sphere.
Yes.
Okay, and this is let's see.
Oh, so that's the crystal ball, and what took me years to notice is you could see the pyramid inside the ball.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there was a few accounts on the internet that said that on the other side of the ball, like you saw an eyeball. I don't see one in there, but I don't know. Maybe if it's in your hand rotating around,
Right.
you could see something like that.
Perspective, right? Exactly. And let's see, and then this one here.
And then it got dropped, which is very devastating because that's like, to me, that's like the most historical artifact you could ever find, and it was dropped, mishandled. And then it was attempted to be glued back together, but then it just got dropped again, and it was in 3 different pieces.
Yeah, that's how do you do that? This should be in a glass case, protected. This should never even be handled. Truthfully, you would think they would treat it with that much care, but yeah, supposedly that this is supposed to tie back to the Atlanteans and the lost city of Atlantis, and I guess you were stating the other gentleman thought or figured that the ruins that he had that Ray discovered was the lost city of Atlantis because it's supposedly in the same geographic area that they think that Atlantis was. So I guess it was the perfect storm because literally, figuratively, that the erosion from the bottom of the sea uncovered and allowed him to actually see these things. Now, they did say that it did emit this sort of energy. And it I know because I saw that episode that you're talking about, and I know he had almost like one of those dowsing rods, where he was like, he was basically saying that anytime this rod got close with the metal tip got close enough to the sphere, that the energy from the sphere kind of made the rod levitate and do all these weird things. So like an energy being possessed within that sphere. Now, those people who sell the crystals, I think they say that these crystals are energetically charged from this sphere. Is that correct? Or
yes,
is that right? Okay.
Yeah, she would let it bathe with the original crystal orb and then bathe with the shards.
So what do you think that represents? Like, do you think that with the energy part of that, do you think that's something that it's charged from the Earth's own magnetic force and energy, or what is your theory or idea behind that? What have you uncovered?
I like trying to uncover it. It just leads to more questions.
True.
Because like there was a story of when this orb went to Florida for a meet and greet. They said that lightning shot out of it and it struck a woman and she was unconscious and she had to go to the hospital. And when she came to, like, out of her coma, she actually had like a underlying health issue that was just untreatable. But when she awoke, like when was released from the hospital, like later she learned that she didn't have this health problem anymore. And then I actually met a woman at a contact in the desert last weekend who actually got to hold it. And this was like an interesting woman. This is a total random stance where we just sat at the same table. And I told her about the Atlantean crystal orb and she was like, I got to hold it. And I was like, damn it. But it was just really cool because like she would like learn about an artifact, like a forbidden ancient artifact. And then like within a few months later, she would actually meet it. And so she learned about this Atlantean orb. And then she said that she was just walking, and then two strange men came up to her, and then they're like, "Do you want to see something?" And she immediately knew what they were going to show her. And I wanted to read what she said. She said, when she held it, she like blacked out, like she wasn't there anymore. And she started she was like scrying. She was saying exactly what she saw. And she said that she saw a primordial battle. She said, it literally brought me to my knees. I saw bright flashes of light, saw detailed images, flying horses, and heard loud thunderous sounds. I cried as my body shook, and I blacked out for almost 15 to 20 minutes. And another woman at a different conference, I don't know if it was broken at that time or not, but she touched it and she also blacked out. But when she came to, she said that she saw Toth in the conference hall, and she said that he was 20 feet tall, like his head was almost touching the ceiling. And Arthur, who would go around traveling with it, he said that he also saw Toth. So like somehow Toth is associated with this crystal orb. And I mean, his origins come back from Atlantis.
And see that,
so, like,
you're talking about Thoth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So and that takes you this way, because that's a whole. I think that goes. I think that name is tied into the Sumerians. I'm not fully versed on that, but I would have to look into that to know for sure. But one thing that I did look at with this, in some theories or some things that people were saying about this, is that some negative things like you just mentioned had come from being in the presence of this sphere. And as well, they think that the sphere is one of the reasons why the city of Atlantis was sunken or destroyed and thrown into the sea. Like it caused some sort of cataclysmic event for the Atlanteans. So, a lot of people are like, hey, why did you take it? You know what I mean? And you should probably put it back, sort of thing. And I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like this is something we should be carrying, or do you think that this should be sent back to its rightful place?
I think it's neat, and I don't know, like I question Arthur when he said that the orb was kind of speaking through him. And Liz, I talked to Liz over the phone, and she had thought, since they worked so close together, that she was going to inherit the orb. And she said that if she did, she would have gone back to Bimini and dropped it off in the ocean. But we don't know what's happened to it in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, just like you were said way earlier, bad juju could come from something like that. Usually you're not supposed to, remove things from their sacred place.
True, but remember, like, there was a voice when Ray said that, it said, you got what you came for, now never come back. And he actually tried to go back. And he said, like, he packed his boat and he was ready to set sail. But he said in one of the books I was reading that there was a wave like far in front of him that just went up like 8 to 10 feet. And he was like, I can't cross that. And he just waited for it to go down, and it never did. And then he made the conscious decision, like, all right, I'm not going. Then the waves just went down. And then his other divers, the other divers that were with him, they went alone. And when they went, they actually all died. So like that kind of added to the mystery of, is this story real or not? But the coolest part of the story is the only evidence we had, which is the crystal orb itself.
What I wonder is, because if it looks like it pretty much in the image in the upper right corner, it almost looks like it broke into pieces. So if it did, I wonder what's with the pyramid on the inside. Like, were you able to see it with it broken, or like would they be able to if they ever did determine what it's made of, the pyramid on the inside? Do you know anything about that? Or you heard anything about that?
Don't know. Seeing pictures of it like broken into just different pieces, like it looked just clear, and they said it was more dense than quartz, and they couldn't really figure out what it was made of. But I heard like 2 of Arthur's kids each got a shard, and then a few years ago, some woman just entered Arthur's life, and he gave it to her. And Liz went to see him this year in February and asked if we could see the ball for a lecture, and he was like, "I don't have it anymore." And she was like, "What happened to it? Like, how could you not tell me what happened?" But somehow this woman from New York either came to him or he went to her. He has dementia now, so he doesn't know. But he just gave her the ball, the orb shard. And he said it was something for channeling. And like, I would love to figure out who has it and what they're doing with it now. And if they ever come to Arizona, if I could see it.
Yeah. And maybe this has changed, but I was, when I looked into it, it said that it currently resides in Arizona. Is that true, or is it still there?
No, a few years ago, he gave it to this woman who is from New York.
Okay.
Unless she also now lives in Arizona, but used to be from New York. It's a mystery. He doesn't remember who she was.
Okay. Because yeah, it could be. I was wondering, because honestly, if it was, it'd be definitely something that's close enough for me even to go see. Which I'd definitely be interested in doing that. When you get into crystals and things like that, that's also that's another rabbit hole, right? Because I know when you talk about people who kind of speak highly on crystals and their abilities, they often say that crystals, not even necessarily related to this sphere, but that crystals end up being charged energetically as well. Now, whether that's a thing or not, I'm not sure. I've heard that. But I definitely think it's definitely something to look into, and there's a theme there. I mean, even going back to crystal skulls, right? Like the crystal skulls, and there's a theme there with crystals, being sacred and having some sort of ability. So, I definitely think it's interesting to look into, and the video, as you saw as well, showed, and I don't know if there was any manipulation to what we were seeing there, when he had the rod and it was being repelled. I would like to try that myself, because if it is, emitting some sort of energy like that to be able to repel things, there's got to be something to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like with everyone touching it, saying they felt like an electrical surge coming from it. Like everyone who touched it was just blown away.
Yeah,
because it was like real. It was alive.
Yeah, we know that when we look into it, the Earth is obviously, we feel like, and pretty sure that it runs off its own energy. It's energetically charged. The Earth, we know that we as human beings walking around, that we are electrically, energetically charged as well. Everything in the universe appears to be energetically charged as well. So why wouldn't something like a crystal? Why wouldn't that be? So it's definitely another rabbit hole to look into for sure. Where does this take you? So what you've seen so far, looking into this in particular, what would be the next thing that you would want to do or see done in relation to this sphere?
To that one in particular, or like where I've jumped to next?
Yeah, where would you jump to? Well, as far as is what you've learned about the abilities or purported abilities of this sphere, like what would you like to see done with this sphere next specifically?
I went and I just tried to learn about other crystal balls on this earth that have, I guess, woo-woo qualities to them. And I've definitely found some interesting ones. And then that also is like, is this one in particular just special and has gifts, or like is there like unknown physics that we haven't figured out yet that has to do with the shape and the material?
Okay.
But I've heard of extraterrestrials gifting humans crystal balls. And then I was at a talk with William Henry, and he was talking about this. I think he was Asian. He was just like this Asian priest, or just ancient Chinese ruler, and he had a crystal ball, and he was like making wishes from it. And so like I just went through like the lineage of like, where did crystal balls originate, what were they used for, and like how were people treating them. Like maybe there was like a secret that we missed somewhere in the back.
Yeah, like I said, I think that takes you down a path of just the whole energy consciousness like spectrum of the phenomena. There are a lot of people who have done a lot of research into what energy means, and they're, like you said, the channelers of energy, people who are able to channel energy, and kind of maybe those be some of the people to talk to kind of get some direction on where to go next with this. But yeah, I mean, anything that emits an energy, you feel it. You feel static electricity, you feel you can feel the energy of another person, you know what I mean? So we know that we are receptive to energies that are out there, and I don't see why this wouldn't be any different. So that's actually pretty awesome. You said as well that you just came back from contact in the desert. So I'm jealous. I'm definitely jealous, because that's somewhere that I want to go, and I don't live too far, so I don't know why I didn't go. But what was your experience out there? What did you, who did you meet? What did you find out that you didn't know before?
This is my first time going, and I volunteered for it, which may not have been smart, but I don't know. I wanted to just do something different. So like, why not go and then like work at it? So that was fun. I worked 4 hours a day, and I got to yell at people for recording, for trying to record the audience. But it was awesome. Travis Walton from Fire in the Sky. You could find him anytime at night, just with his guitar. He would just be sitting outside trying to play. And then Linda Moulton Howe was walking around, and anyone could just go up and talk to these people. And at one time I was in a room, it was a party room, and Dwayne Ollinger from Blind Frog Ranch was there, Linda Moulton Howe, George Noory, Nick Pope, and just others. They were just chilling in the room, and I did a recording, and I did it in under 50 seconds. I was like, how many famous people can I find right now? And I ended up talking to all of them, and then like I could leave that room, and then like William Henry was out there, and the Hynek brothers, and a lot of like famous radio people were out there. And it was definitely pretty cool just to have all these people in the same room, and you could just go out and just touch them like they were real people. So that was awesome.
Man, yeah, I'm so jealous. Everybody was there except for this guy and the Spaced Out Radio in general. But we're gonna change that, because we're gonna be there next year. There's another convention coming up in what is it? Disclosure Fest. Are you familiar with that? I think Jimmy Church is running that. It's in right outside of LA.
Okay.
When is it? It's like in 2 weeks. It's like a 3-day event. Lake Castaic, I think, is where it's at. And it's a 3-day event. Everyone's going to be at Billy Carson. Long list of people. A lot of people that were probably in contact in the desert are going to be there. But it's another one of those big conventions. So if that's, you're looking into something like that, I know that's within striking distance for you and where you are. Maybe you might may want to look into.
Yeah, I totally could. Yeah, I actually drove to LA when I was there, because it was one of my duties was driving George Noory home from Palm Springs. So I got to drive him to Los Angeles.
That is awesome.
That was fun.
One of your duties was to drive George Noory. Wow, that's awesome. There's a story behind that, I'm sure, as well.
Yes.
Did you pick his brain on the way?
I tried to, and I don't know. I used to listen to Coast to Coast often when I was younger, but I don't anymore, just because radio, but I'm old school. But there were some things that I was surprised he didn't know of, because I tried to tell him about the Atlantean crystal orb, and then I tried to bring up simple stuff that I thought everyone knew, like ant people, and it was like, what are ant people? I'm like, the ant people, like all over like the Southwest, like ancient stories about ant people, like helping Indians build shelter and find food. And
Wow.
I don't know, maybe he's forgetful. I don't know.
Wow, no, you brought the tea too tonight, Karen. Okay, I love it. I mean, you think, and when you talk to so many people, like I'm sure he does, some of the stuff is, you can't retain everything. So maybe that's kind of maybe what it is. You just talk to so many people, so many different conversations. And I can say that myself. I've talked just on this show, I've talked to 100 different people, and I haven't absorbed everything. So I could imagine that. But that's actually awesome, especially for you, just getting into this. You kind of hitting the ground running with the whole becoming an investigator with Mufon, which is very important, because all these things and experiences and sightings definitely need to be cataloged. And not only that, but they need to be handled by competent investigators. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that you are there, because I have a story. My sighting was not handled by a competent investigator. I won't say any names, but I was made aware by some directors from the state, a different Illinois or some state out there. They interviewed them and kind of told them what happened, and I guess there was some sort of disconnect with the Southern California MUFON, and they just weren't really doing their job, I guess, at one point, which I was jaded. I gotta say, I was jaded initially, because I'm looking at MUFON as just one unit, but then I was made to understand that it's broken down into regions.
Yeah.
So you have a region that may not be doing so well, but they don't speak for the rest of MUFON, right?
Right. Yeah.
Kind of what I'm understanding. So we definitely need more competent investigators. I'm so glad that you took that on. And maybe, I don't know, maybe down the line that'd be something that I would do. I heard that you have because I'm interviewing in about a week or two Preston Dennett. He's also with MUFON, if you're familiar with him, and he told me that it is, the entry test to get in is pretty tough. What would you say about that? Was it tough for you, or what'd you have to do?
Yeah, and like, I guess, when you take any online quiz, it's going to be different from your neighbors. Not that I had a neighbor, but it was an open book test, and I think like your page showed you like 5 questions, and there were 100 questions to start, and I felt like the first 2 pages of mine were all trick questions, and they took me like hours, because I was like, it's definitely not one of them, but it was multiple choice, so it's definitely not A, but it could be B, C, or D. And I'm just like, why are they doing this to me? But then all the rest were like somewhat easy, but I was prepared for that trick question. And so like, I'm sure it took me longer than most people, because I was like, these are going to mess me up somewhere. But like, you have to get, I think it's either 82 or above, or 86 and above. And I got that done. So that was fun, like one time.
Good. Yeah, I heard, and I know, and truthfully, that hopefully other people get inspired out there, because it just shows you don't necessarily have to have credentials or super deep experience in one thing or another in order to sign up and become an investigator. And then once you get there, you are actually helping the bigger picture as far as getting this whole thing uncovered. So I would hope that other people out there may consider doing the same thing, because like I said, we need as many competent investigators as we can get there. As far as the data goes, you probably can't really say, but what ends up happening at the end of these investigations? So once you've closed the case, like what generally happens with the case?
After I close a case, then it goes to our chief investigator, and she reads through what the witness wrote, and then she reads through what your analysis was, and she'll either throw it back to you and say do more, or she'll be like, yes, this is legit, and then she just signs off, and it just gets stacked with all the other cases.
Okay, and I've seen some cases that, and maybe you can share this or not, but as far as like when you close a case and you label it as either this, or this, like what are the options that you have to label it? Because I know one of them is unknown.
Yeah.
And then is unknown saying that
like
it's
we can't figure it out.
unexplainable, or yeah, so
It's kind of like we've gone through like all of the procedures and the steps, and we can't figure it out.
As anything knowable on Earth, basically. Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out if unknown kind of is, because unknown would mean that you've looked at all the prosaic explanations and none of them fit, that it means that it's, nothing explainable as far as here on Earth, right? So maybe it's saying it's extraterrestrial, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any stamp that says this is extraterrestrial within Mufon, or is it just the unknown?
No, it's just unknown.
Okay, so unknown is a win then. So everybody out there, if you get an unknown on your Mufon report, then it's almost essentially validating your sighting. And the reason why I asked that is because, when I was saying before, my investigation was mishandled. The gentleman who looked at mine came back and said it was party balloons or something like that, which it definitely wasn't. And I had actually sent back a reply to him, said, hey, no, I don't think it's this. And I gave him actual Mufon case numbers that depicted the same things that I filmed. And in those cases, they were listed as unknown. So I'm like, how could these be unknown? But then my case ends up coming back as party balloons. I'm like, hey, maybe you should look at this again and just kind of see, because these ones were unknown. So with that unknown stamp, and then your confirmation essentially there, it definitely makes me know, which I already knew because I saw it, that these things aren't prosaically explained or explainable.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the other categories are like hoax, like someone could be out there like trying to mess with us, and then there's like man-made object or natural object, like a natural phenomenon, like a star or a planet or a bird.
Well, I appreciate the transparency on that, because I don't know if that's widely known to know what the categories are. And I think that now that we can dip into the database, we can kind of get an idea for what you guys have considered to be actual real things. So that's awesome. I know let me see, I'm gonna jump in here because I tagged a couple things here. And if you guys have any questions here, please, I've been in and out the chat. I may have missed some of your questions. So if you have any, put them in here real quick, because we only have about 10 minutes. I did tag a few. These are really just comments right here. Let me see. These are comments to our conversation. Let me see if there's any question. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, these are all comments. You guys go ahead and put some questions in there as well. In caps. Yep. Paranormal Pixie is right. In caps. Please put them in caps. Now, let me get into this while we're waiting on that. What is forbidden archaeology, if you wouldn't mind going over what that is?
I guess like artifacts that should not exist, or artifacts that I guess mainstream archaeologists would try to hide. Like, I guess artifacts that like are just really old but are too high tech for what we would think they had the capabilities of making. Like that one computer machine that they found off the coast of Greece. It was in like a shipwreck, and it was like they pulled it out, and it was just gears, brass gears, and they were like, "This is an early computer."
I think I know what you're talking about there.
It's a long word.
Yes, and guys, this is Karen's Mufon page, TucsonMufon.com, and I know you have KarenHill.net
Yeah.
which is a site for her as well. And also, TucsonMufon.com and KarenHill.net. So you guys make sure you guys are checking her out here. Question that I did have here, and this is one that people ask, and I have to ask it. Why does it seem a lot of people, from what a viewer has seen, don't trust MUFON? Like, have you heard anything about that?
I was kind of like I feel like I dove into that one at the wrong end, because like I didn't know people had so much distrust in MUFON, and then like I joined MUFON and I recreated the Tucson MUFON Facebook page, and then like I got all this hate mail of people like hating on MUFON. I'm like, I've just been a MUFON person for a month. I have no idea. Direct your questions elsewhere. But I guess it's just investigators that I guess people think have done them dirty and like didn't take their case seriously.
I'll tell you also, it would be exactly like you said, because that was my experience. But like I said, initially when I had it, I reflected it on the whole of MUFON, but then was
Yeah.
made aware it's only this portion of MUFON. So I kind of rescinded it at the same time. But I think one of the bigger things that back in the past, there was a director or president. It was more like the president of MUFON back in, like, I think 2009, roughly time period. Ended up selling some user
Interesting.
data, and kind of handed that over to the government. It was, I think, Robert Bigelow was involved in that, but the director or the president at that time ended up making some sort of deal with the government where there was a portion of user data that was sold, and that was again without the people who submitted, without their knowledge, essentially. So that's where one of the bad stains came from, because people were like, well, they're just giving our data, confidential data, over to the government. And that's kind of what people are still wondering if that is still happening today. And that's kind of like the bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. And it was just a period in time. That person is now no longer there, so you would assume that is no longer happening.
Yeah.
But just to kind of give MUFON his big ups, it's been around for. Do you know that? I don't even know the year. I think.
1969.
Okay, there you go. So it's historically been there, capturing data, and for the most part, it's been a great organization. So it did have that one period of time, but I don't think we can hold that against MUFON forever. But yeah, if you hadn't heard of that incident, that was something that happened, I think, in 2009. But if you ever wonder why people are giving you flack on MUFON, that's mainly why.
Mm-hmm.
With that, let me see if anybody else has dropped one in here. Okay. Paranormal Pixie Laura, she's asking, can anyone search for MUFON cases that may date back to the beginning, 69?
Oh, I see, on 1960.
Oh, yeah.
They might be able to. I haven't tried to look at old cases. I just kind of deal with mine. I guess I'm kind of like jaded. Like, so many people come up to me and tell me they saw a UFO, and it's like someone telling me they saw a bird, and I'm like, okay, was it pretty? And like everyone is like seeing so many things. It's almost overwhelming. So I don't know. I just take it all in. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, that's cool. Like, we know they're out there all the time. Like, if you look up, like, you'll see one or two.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'll say this too. I forgot about this when the 2009 thing happened, but then also, which we don't know what happened, but about a year ago, as I remember,
Mm-hmm.
we reported it here on Space Out. It was probably less than a year ago, but MUFON,
Yes.
the servers went down, and
Mm-hmm.
you were kind of locked out the system, and they thought maybe there was a data breach. And I think someone came forward afterwards and said that there was no data breach. So I don't know if you know
It
anything
was
about that.
weird. It was like they just tried to shut it down. Like, they didn't erase anything. And like the Secret Service actually got involved because they're trying to figure out who did it and why. But yeah, it was down for like 5 months, and it recently just came back.
Yeah, there was some theories being thrown around out there. I don't want to say like we'll just say this. There's other organizations that also collect data that some thought maybe had a hand in the breach. So organizations, and then also potentially government entities, because at the end of the day, they want our data. So they think maybe it has something to do with that. But let me see what else we have here. Whose questions are being ignored? Sierra, come on now. Let me see your question. I may have missed it. Let me go ahead and go back here. See, give me Sierra's question first. So Sierra, put it back in the chat so I can ask that right now. Joe Monk, okay. I'll ask you this while we're waiting for Sierra. Joe Monk wants to know, why do Karen's lightsabers bend?
They're just lights that you can find on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay.
But that is cool. They kind of do look like lightsabers.
Yeah, they do. That's actually pretty cool. I'm actually redesigning my backdrop, and I'm going to implement some stuff like that. So that is pretty cool. Okay. Yeah. Sierra's question is, could we hear about the stories of the Appalachians and also the skinwalkers?
One thing I've learned about the Appalachians is you're not allowed to whistle at night, which is something I learned like relatively like recently, like a year ago. And I'm like, why can't you whistle at night? But like they say, like their grandparents tell them, like, if you see something, pretend you didn't, and if you hear something, pretend you didn't, and just don't whistle back, or don't whistle outside, because if anything whistles back at you, you're screwed. Like it has your attention, and it will come after you.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. And then we have a last question here. Is, let's see, ask Karen about her art design, please. Just I think the symbols and emblems in the back.
Oh, those are chakras, and those were they were actually vinyl records, and then I laser cut them, which I'm not supposed to do, so don't do that. I got that at Phoenix Comic-Con. It was definitely something I needed to get. I think the guy was Rob Osborne. He's pretty dope. I don't know. I just have random art. Dude, that's like I don't know if you can see it, but it's a cactus alien.
Yeah, that's cool. And then I see also you're asking for the Galactic Federation to hire you as well.
Yes.
So you're open for that.
I am open for jobs, yes.
Okay, Karen, we are at the end of the hour here, so I definitely want to have fun with you as well. I just want you to know that, and do appreciate you coming on. Where can everybody find you? Where would be the best place for everyone to find you, and what do you have going on right now?
I guess if they want to talk to me, it would definitely be Facebook. Like I run the TucsonMufon.com webpage, and I try to keep everyone updated about my future Mufon meetings, and yeah. I mean, I have Twitter, but like I don't remember the names, and like I have Tucson Mufon Instagram.
Okay, definitely. So everything Tucson Mufon, and that's okay. So you guys, once again, KarenHill.net and then TucsonMufon.com.
Yeah.
Best places to get in contact with Karen. Karen, thank you so much for coming in and talking about this. I think you expanded some minds. I didn't know really about the Atlantean crystal orbs and spheres till I looked into it, and it's very interesting. And once again, we jumped down a rabbit hole, and it's one that will continue. So we can try to get you back so we can talk some more about this at a later time. Outside of that, I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you too.
Have a good rest of your night. Have a great week. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Karen Hill. Awesome conversation with Karen Hill from MUFON, and the look into the Atlantean crystal spheres. And then that whole thing, right? That's a new thing that I'm as far as knowledge wise getting into. just to kind of, understand that side of it. We talk a lot about energy, things like that here, is aside from just aliens and cryptids and things like that. So I think it was a great addition to the overall catalog that we have. So with that being said, we definitely want to go ahead and get ready to jump into our last break here. Hour number 3 as we get ready to get into here at Spaced Out Radio. Filling in big shoes for Dave Scott. Who knows what we'll do? I'll see you guys back here in a minute. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, as we go ahead and get ready to jump back into Spaced Out Radio, hour number 3, filling in for Dave Scott. As you can see, the background has changed. That means we are in the after hour studio for hour 3. And we're going to do some of the things that you guys want to do, right? So filling in, we don't have the Swamp Dweller story or Steve Stockton, or we don't have any of that going on here tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull on our man Lon Strickler and jump into some of Lon Strickler's phantomandmonsters.com. We're going to jump into a few stories, and then as Van Gold is asking trivia, hey, why not? We can do that after we get through a few of these stories. So I'm totally ready to get into it. So let's see. Let's get some theme. Let's get some ambiance music here going as we get ready to jump into this here. Don't know why that's clicking. Okay, there we go. All right. So we're going to jump into some phantomandmonsters.com. Let me go ahead and bring that up here on the screen. Lon gets the best stories, guys. He gets the best stuff. We're going to go ahead and jump into the first story here. This is the last story. We are going to jump into yes. Okay. So we're going to jump into this first story here, which is possible Bigfoot stalked and chased fishermen at Beaver Lake in Memphis, Tennessee. All right, let me go ahead and move this off the screen here as I go ahead and get into it. Courtesy of Lon Strickler, phantomandmonsters.com. Make sure you guys go ahead and go check him out. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. And where is Captain Dave? Captain Dave, unfortunately, is has got a super bad earache. And so you got your guy, Rob G, stepping in, filling those big shoes. We're going to go ahead and have a fantastic hour number 3 as we jump into this story. Here we go. The witness describes encountering and then being chased by a possible Bigfoot while hiking along Beaver Lake in Memphis, Tennessee. So he says, the following account was recently forwarded to me. All right. And here's how it goes. It was just before Halloween 2019. Now, let me start by saying I'm not an avid outdoorsman. I love hiking, and I've spent countless hours in Memphis's T.O. Fuller State Park. But I'm not a mountain man by any means. The park is home to several indigenous mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles, and is full of small ponds, thick brush, and even swampy marshes and spots. There are designated hiking and biking trails that sprawl the area, but there are also several wild areas that aren't really maintained or used, being that I have an adventurous streak and that I also hate being around groups of people. I often find myself in these less ventured or quote wild areas. Now, I've never felt uncomfortable in this park. It's like my safe place. I go there to get away, decompress after work, or just be alone sometimes. It feels like a second home. In ways, anyway, enough background about information, I'm rambling. I just pulled up to one of the less commonly fished ponds, Beaver Lake, Shelby Farms Park, and I intended to circle to the far side, 3/4 miles from my truck. On one of the hiking trails that goes right next to the tree line and then into the tree line and then push back further onto one of the old horse trails. Now, this horse trail in particular only gets used a little. I can't say why for sure, but I've heard a myriad of different reasons from different people. The most logical explanation is that it's just not as convenient to get to anymore, and it gets pretty marshy when it rains. I'd be able to follow the normal hiking trail for the first 3/4 miles, but I'd have the fork left off the trail once into a tree line. The gate to the old horse trail was about 500 yards to my 9 o'clock from there, just through an overgrown thicket and up a straight, slight hill. I made my way over the 4-foot gate and started exploring. I had about an hour and a half before sunset, and I have a strict stay out of the woods at night policy, so I was watching the time. My main goal for this adventure was to snap some pictures of the area for a project I've been working on, and I'll admit I needed to be more focused than I typically am. Anyway, close to an hour passed. I gotten some good shots, and I figured now was a good time for my egress. It'd take me close to 30 minutes to get back to my truck, and I wasn't keen on getting stuck in an unfamiliar area at night. I sat my backpack down on the stump, dropped to one knee, and started packing, organizing my stuff. I'm not sure what the catalyst was, but I suddenly felt this terrible sense of dread. I slowly turned and scanned my surroundings. Nothing seemed out of place. I stood up, grabbed my bag. When I took a step forward, a leaf crunched under my boot, and I realized that everything was dead silent. Now, as I said above, I'm not an avid outdoorsman by any means, but I know well enough that silence like that is an indication that a predator is nearby. And you need to quickly but calmly make your way out of the area, stay vigilant. It's worth noting that while mountain lions and black bears are not technically indigenous to my area, there have been more than enough caught and relocated for it to be a valid concern. I've been stalked by a mountain lion on another occasion, and this felt eerily similar. So that was at the forefront of my mind. I've been moving for probably 5 minutes, and everything honestly seemed fine. I'd lulled myself into believing that I was overreacting and that everything was fine. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. Good, right? Wrong. By this point, the trail was completely overgrown on both sides. I could see fairly clearly behind me and a decent way ahead, but my left and right may as well been fall-colored walls. I must have gotten lost in thought for a moment because I tripped on a root and fell. As I was picking myself up, I started hearing a soft, cooing or chittering off to my right. It sounded like a mix between a dove and the predator alien sound. It would start to coo or yelp and end with this weird chittering sound. I'm actually sitting here trying to replicate it, and I sound ridiculous. I'm not sure my throat is even capable of recreating it. Anyway, I'm out of shape, and there's no way I'm outrunning anything. So I scrambled up, planted my feet, and tried to make myself look as menacing as a fat 22-year-old with the backpack and glasses can look. About 100 yards ahead of me, which would have originally been behind me had I not fallen, so toward where I'd taken the pics and was moving away from, I saw the underbrush start to shake, and it sounded like something was tearing through it. I only had maybe 20 minutes of daylight at this point, and it would take me at least that long to make my way back to my truck. So I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. Naturally, I turned around and I booked it, knowing good and damn well that I can run maybe half a mile. 3/4 of a mile if something's trying to kill me, maybe. I could barely hear anything over my own footfalls and the sound of my heart pounding. But whatever it was chasing me through the underbrush, and it was gaining on me. It may have been 15 yards behind me at this point, and I still had a ways to go. I don't know if fear kept me going or what, but I reached deeper and just kept running. My breathing got shallow, my vision started blurring, and I was honestly about to collapse when I saw the gate to the horse trail about 300 yards ahead of me. This thing was right on top of me by now, and as soon as I came within arm's reach of the gate, I planted my foot on the bottom rung and launched myself over it. My landing was not graceful. I landed on my right shoulder and tumbled several yards down the hill and into a puddle of muck. I wasn't thinking straight now, and I stood up shakily and started making my way towards the tree line and pond. I knew what direction to go, and I didn't even bother finding the hiking trail. I just crashed through the brush and the overgrowth like some kind of barbarian. I didn't care about cuts and scrapes or the massive amounts of noise I was making. My only thought was to get out. The chittering noises had stopped, but I still heard something moving in the brush at the top of the hill. It wasn't trying to be quiet anymore either. I finally broke through the tree line and could see my truck parked across the pond at the top of the hill. I finally took a deep breath and started slowly walking away from the tree line. The ominous feeling lifted, and I started making my way up the trail alongside the tree line. I was able to catch my breath for about 15 seconds. I heard that god-awful cooing and chittering behind me again, and I turned to look back at the tree line behind me. So at that point, there was a trail leading into the tree line in front of me, a tree line to my right, water to my left, and the trail leading alongside the tree line and around the pond to the cars behind me, which is the direction I needed to go was going before I heard the sounds again. The underbrush at the tree line ahead of me started to shake and fear took over. I'm thankful that my bag is waterproof and that my phone is water resistant because I jumped into the pond and I swam across. I've never really told this story to anyone in my personal life. They'd probably think I'm crazy, and I doubt they consider me credible, especially given my interest in Bigfoot and other cryptids. I don't know what was stalking me that day. I know I wound up cold, wet, and a bit shaken up. I also know I've not been back to that part of the park, and I can't come up with a good explanation. Beaver Lake is off limits to me for a while. I think I'll just continue exploring and hanging out on the slightly more populated side of the park, CS. So Lon Strickler, awesome story by the way. Lon put a note on there that says, I don't know what this witness encountered, but I do know that Memphis, Tennessee has a lot of bizarre phenomena. The infamous Trail of Tears ran along the city, and there has been speculation that this may account for much of the strange activity. I do remember a Bigfoot encounter in Shelby Park area many years ago, but there have been other unexplained activity in the general area. Much of this extends south into the northern parts of the Mississippi as well. I'd be interested if others could offer more personal accounts from the Memphis area. Lon, so if you guys are out in the Memphis area, don't know if you are familiar with the park that the person who wrote in is describing, but if you've had any encounters or you have any stories about this particular Beaver Lake in Memphis, Tennessee, or anyone you know that has stories about that, definitely contact Lon Strickler. His website is phantomandmonsters.com. Make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Getting into the next story here. So this story, as you can see here on the screen, is about an upright, hairless dogman reported by Franklin County, Illinois witnesses. And so, I'm new to the Dogman thing. I know that people talk about Dogman, and Skinwalker Ranch has even, had their reports about the upright canine smoking a cigarette with a trench coat. Hey, I don't know much about Dogman, but here goes the story that was submitted to Lon Strickler. Once again, let's go ahead and jump into this one here. So, a teen girl is on a school trip to Florida, spending the first night at Cocoa Beach. While in the surf, she is rescued. No, this is actually a different one. I'm sorry. Let me get back. This one, okay, this one is, the following account was posted by Sarah Boyles, who is a freelance journalist from Illinois. The post was made on her Facebook page. She had contacted me on the day of the report. So West Frankfort, Illinois, an unidentified creature was spotted in the woods by 2 West Frankfort residents. I interviewed the young man who spotted this animal or creature. He is going to be a senior in high school next year. He is an avid hunter and fisherman. He is not someone who believes in these sorts of things. However, he cannot help what he saw. He explained to me. I found him to be incredibly friendly, very honest, and bright. Now, he's calling him C. C is 18 years old, was driving on Rains Road in West Frankfort on Friday night at approximately 9:30 p.m. with his friend M. Like most teenage boys, the two were just talking and joking around. This is a road that they'd traveled many times. Now, Mr. C stated, I saw something that I never thought I would see in a million years. It was unbelievable. I was so shocked that I did not speak out loud until we got to town. M saw it too. He remained silent. Our brains just could not comprehend what we had just seen. Now, C and M were traveling in C's vehicle while he had his brights on. The pair report seeing an unidentifiable creature that they had never seen before in their lives. They both said the animal was on their right. They were so in shock, they just stared at it as they drove by. The tall, thin animal then took a few steps backwards into the darkness. He continued, I did not want to sound crazy, but we both discussed what we saw. We didn't want to believe it. It was a 6'10" to 7 foot tall animal. Although I don't want to say animal because I've hunted in 4 different states and I've never seen anything like it. I've hunted a lot in Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama. I've never seen anything like this. It was built oddly. It was slender, but its muscle tone was crazy. It was hairless and standing on 2 legs. I asked Mr. C what he believes he and his friends saw on Friday night. The pair do not know what they saw. However, several individuals reached out to Mr. C to tell them about unidentifiable creatures that had also been seen. Many of the people who reached out to C mentioned seeing similar animals in Benton, Illinois. Many people came forward stating that they had seen a similar creature on Route 37 in many different counties nearby. C said the closest thing he found is Dogman, a mythical creature. He stated that it was the closest as far as an appearance to what we saw. However, the creature he saw did not have a tail and was hairless. He also reiterates how odd its build was. When Mr. C came forward and told residents about his sighting, obviously many people did not believe him. He understands that it's hard to believe. He is still in shock that he saw this creature. Today, he is going to look for footprints in the area where he saw the creature to get more answers for himself, if nothing else. I informed C that I personally knew YouTubers with 1 to 3 million followers who would be very interested in the story and would be willing to pay. I even had a television producer reach out. He is not interested in getting any money or attention for this sighting. Quote, I just don't want anyone to think I'm doing this as a joke or anything like that. I know what I saw, and it's something I've never seen before in my life, and I can't comprehend still. I think if someone sees something like this, they should report it. That is all. Now, he's using his real name in the hopes people understand he's not lying anymore. He's sharing what he saw. Now, his name has been redacted due to harassing posts, which I'm very disappointed in. If any of my followers did that to these young men, then they should be ashamed. It's from Lon Strickland. He doesn't seem particularly interested if people believe him or not, but he's steadfast in his statement of what he saw. And I'm not afraid to admit that while speaking with Mr. C, I believe he did see something. I believe he saw something that he and M have never seen before, and just like them, I would like to know what they saw. The pair were stunned and speechless and only saw the creature for 2 to 3 seconds before it stepped backwards into the woods. They did not have time to take a photo, nor were they thinking about taking a photo. It was something they did not expect to see and were not prepared to see. This property is private, so please do not search. However, many sightings have now been reported from this road, and you are free to drive down the road, of course. And Lon's note is the location is just north of the Shawnee National Forest, an area well known for cryptid activity. Lon. Yes. What do you guys think about that? That's pretty creepy, right? So apparently the person who had the encounter was offered, attention, money, YouTube fame. TV producers reached out. The person was not interested in it and just really wanted people to know what they saw. Commendable, very commendable, right? And I think that might really lean into the validity potentially of what this person is stating. So weird, yeah, definitely weird. I haven't had any cryptid encounters myself, so I can only imagine reading through this what it must feel like to walk out to a forested area or somewhere at night, desolate area where there's no one else, and then run into that. I always feel like something like that is going to happen when I'm out there. So with that being said, we do have a couple more of these awesome stories submitted to Lon Strickler. Let me see which one we can get into next. So that was the Dogman. Let me see. Okay, we do have one here, and I want to do this one here. All right, so this one is the unknown entity rescues teen girl from pounding surf at Cocoa Beach, Florida. And once again, these stories are at phantomandmonsters.com. A lot of you are already over there and show Lon love, but please make sure you guys go ahead and let him know we appreciate him lending his content to us. So this story goes, this is the one I was reading before. We'll jump into this one. So a teen girl is on a school trip to Florida, spending the first night at Cocoa Beach. While in the surf, she is rescued from the waves by an unknown being. She felt an arm wrap around her. The Lon received this following account. Something saved my life on Cocoa Beach, Florida on Easter Sunday, 1994. And no human stepped forward and claimed to be it. Something brought me in from the water, and seemingly no one else even saw any of the incident. It was actually a school trip coming from Kentucky and headed to a 3-day sea camp on Big Pine Key. Roughly halfway between is Cocoa Beach, Florida, which was where we stopped the first night and spent the next day, Easter, playing on the beach before continuing our journey by school bus to the Keys. I was 14, and this would be my first time ever seeing a body of water large enough that it ended on the horizon. So there we were, a bunch of teenagers, about 12 to 15 of us on the trip, walking out into the ocean and jumping in the waves. It was fun, but I wasn't used to it. I'd only played in creeks at this point in my life, and they don't have waves. When you do find a swimming hole in a creek, the first goal is to walk out as far as you can until your head doesn't go under. From there, playing is just a series of swimming back and forth to the spot where your feet can still touch. With all my classmates stopping at waist deep to play in the ocean, I thought I'd be impressed by them walking out a little further. I started walking. I had to stay focused to keep my footing when the waves would come, but I was determined to make it until the water touched my chin while my feet touched the ground. And I did, sure. It only hit those spots in between the waves, but I was pretty sure I'd made it that far. I turned to make sure any friends could see me and be impressed, expecting to find a line of them following me. But no one was behind me. My friends were the size of ants, still back at waist-deep water, and no one seemed to notice how far I had gone. I panicked. I started to walk back, but my feet couldn't find the ground. I was trying to swim, but the waves kept coming, and the harder I tried, the further I went. I was trying to scream, "Help!" But every time my head was out of the water and I opened my mouth, all I got was, "Huh." And then another wave would come over me and fill my mouth, drag me further out and under. I never even got to scream for help one whole time. The next thing I remember is feeling an arm around my body and the rush of water against me as if I'm being swam to shore. I believe I was in and out of consciousness during this time because the memory is flashing. I remember a glimpse of blonde hair in the water, but I had blonde hair, so it could have been mine. However, something also made me feel like this was a female whose arm was around me. Next, I remember being dropped face down onto the sand, and immediately I began vomiting up tons of water. Once I stopped vomiting and realized I could and was breathing air, I turned to thank whoever it was. There was no one. Nobody was there to see if this 14-year-old kid was going to stop puking up ocean water and breathe through her lungs. The beachgoers around the area weren't even looking at me. Nobody was coming to check my vitals. The teachers and other students were further down the beach. None of them even looked my way. I made it back to my crowd and decided I wouldn't say anything. I was a little embarrassed, and I also had a fear that if teachers found out I'd almost drowned, they'd call my mom and she'd demand I come home and the whole trip would be scrapped. So I said nothing, and no one ever said anything to me. Once again, another awesome story here. PhantomandMonsters.com. You guys make sure you go support Lon Strickler and the extensive database of stories that have been submitted to him. Lon is awesome for curating these stories and being able to have these sent out here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, we have our last story here that I'm going to run, which is regarding an oily black humanoid running along the San Antonio, Texas highway. Yikes, right? So that's a crazy thing to think of. However, this is how the story goes. Lon Strickler says the humanoid creature was entirely naked and oily black and smooth. The rain glistened off his skin with a shine like wet black marble or obsidian. This occurred in San Antonio, Texas. Lon received the following account. This happened on May 11th, 2019, on my way home from work. I live in Central Texas, San Antonio to be exact. This whole incident happened in the span of maybe 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute, but it felt pretty quick and surreal. I was driving on a short stretch of elevated highway, Werbach Parkway, if you know the city, traveling northbound between 281, cutting over to 35. I was passing the airport just past Thousand Oaks, where the highway straightens out for a few miles until it slopes to ground level. It was raining, and there are not many streetlights on this part of the highway. I was traveling 60 to 65 miles per hour. My car is a little sedan, so I had a low view of the road. I was the only one on the highway in either direction, aside from a pair of headlights several miles behind me. In the distance ahead, maybe half a mile or so, I saw what looked like a man, human outline, running or jogging on the right-hand shoulder of the road. Aside from it being nearly 1 a.m. and on an elevated stretch of road, I didn't think it was too odd. There are lots of drunks in my city, and strange things have happened. Nonetheless, I moved from the right lane to the left just in case. As I approached, I became aware that this silhouette was not getting taller, as you would expect as your perception shifts. Instead, it stayed the same height. I estimated maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, based on the fact this head came to about the same height as the hood of my car. I slowed down to about 50 to 55 miles per hour and stared at the back of this thing, trying to make out details through my rain-soaked windshield. As soon as I got close enough for this thing to be fully in my headlights, it dropped down to all fours, as if it was trying to mimic an animal. I know this was not any animal that I've seen. Its size was that of a medium-sized coyote, but it was running distinctly like a person, attempting to run like a person. Its hindquarters were raised up in the air, and I could clearly make out buttocks, and its legs kicked out sideways. If you've ever seen documentaries about feral children, it'll give you an idea of the gait that I am attempting to describe. The only thing is that no human I've seen could run on all fours at the speed this thing was going. The creature was entirely naked and oily black and smooth. The rain glistened off his skin with a shine like wet black marble or obsidian. I could make out muscle tone and everything as this thing clipped along. As it dropped to 2 legs, it lost some speed either intentionally or just from the change in gait. It was running about the same pace as a person could sprint. I passed this thing and it looked over his left shoulder at me. His face was flat with a flat, wide nose. It had big eyes. I could see the whites and dilated dark pupils. There was no eye shine, which I think is unusual, just those eyes against the black of its skin. Though it never looked directly in my headlight beams, so that may be inconsequential, it opened its mouth at one point as it was looking at me as it passed. Its teeth were flat and white like a human's, but with larger and prominent canines. It had hands and feet like a person. I couldn't make out any genitalia, but it was distinctly male in its general appearance. It would be best described as a swimmer's build. Its body was proportionate to that of any other human, just scaled down. No crazy long limbs or anything like that. I did fumble with my phone with the intent to try to take a photo, but to be honest, I was so enamored and excited in trying to take in as much detail as possible while driving on a dark, rainy road. I also did not think a photo would show much because of the dark and the rain and the glass of my car windows, but now I'm seriously thinking of getting a dash cam. I hope that the car a ways behind me saw the thing. It was pretty obvious. I hope I've provided enough detail for an accurate report. I have no idea what I saw, but I'm glad I saw it. It didn't seem malicious. It looked scared, like it was not happy to be up there and just wanted to get off the highway. I got a very distinct impression that the only reason it dropped to all fours was an attempt to mimic an animal and draw less attention to itself. He didn't have to go far till the next exit, but there was a well-lit gas station and intersection there. Aside from a few apartment buildings and scattered industrial areas, the only other stuff along the stretch is a small amusement park and airport. There is an old abandoned concrete plant in the area next to the highway. Again, if you're local to the area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was my first thought as to where it could have come from. It was heading away from this though and towards a populated area, so it doesn't make much sense. I'm still just floored that I saw this thing. I'm totally open to providing more details but I believe this to be pretty concise. Now, Lon says the eyewitness followed up with more information. I couldn't make out much detail, just what I described, its height, gait, color, and the fact that it had muscle. Aside from when it turned its head, all I really saw was wide eyes and teeth. The whole thing happened pretty quickly. As I got close enough to pass, it turned its face toward me, so I couldn't make out a profile. This thing was dark and black, and I honestly don't remember being able to make out the nose or ears. I'm sure that they were there, though. As I said, it looked like a person, just scaled down. Ladies and gentlemen, that is PhantomandMonsters.com by Lon Strickland. Make sure you guys go ahead and support Lon. And he has a YouTube channel. So make sure you go over to his YouTube channel, where I'm sure he kind of goes more in detail on some of these stories here. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. It looks like we're having a camera issue here. So kick back as we go ahead and jump into a short break, and we'll be back and we'll try to fit in a few trivia questions. We'll see which one of you really got it. Get your fingers ready. We will be back here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Hour number 3, filling in for Dave Scott here. Camera's back online. That's excellent. So we can go ahead then and jump into what we do. If we could quickly do this in the last few minutes here, is get into some of this Spaced Out trivia. Here's the theme music. Let's get it going. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and bring ourselves up here. Okay, so I got a little trivia. Yeah, I had a few questions already lined up just in case we were going to do this here. So let's go ahead and quickly get into this. And I forget, you guys say we don't use the YouTube chat and not official. So let me go ahead and make sure we're doing that. Okay, here we go. All right, turn it down. Okay, here we go. All right. Here we go, guys. First question. It's going to be a paranormal question. What was the name of the haunted house in Amityville, New York? Pretty much just gave it away. Oh, camera died again. Okay, we're going to finish without the camera tonight. What is the house that was featured in the Amityville horror? The Amityville house. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Christine got that. I pretty much gave you the answer. Okay. All right. Next question. We will go UFO. In what year did the famous Roswell UFO incident occur? What year did the famous Roswell UFO incident occur? Waiting for the right answer, waiting for the correct answer. Mothman looks like he got it there. And it is 1947 was the beginning of the cover-up, the government cover-up, right? And then the cover-up of the cover-up, right? Great job, Mothman. Let's go ahead and get to the next question here, which is going to be a cryptid question. What cryptid is known as the goat sucker in Latin America? What cryptid is known as the goat sucker in Latin America? Okay, all right. I see it. I see you out there. Tomorrow man coming. And you spelled it wrong, but I know what you mean. Chupacabra. I'll give it to you. All right, moving in. This one is more of a space question. What is the name of the galaxy that contains our solar system? What is the name of the galaxy that contains our solar system? It is the Milky Way. I mean, they named the candy bar after it. I don't know why. I might have to look into the history on that. But it looks like Dead Fish Cheese Spread was the first to get that. Let me go ahead and scroll back up here. Dead Fish Cheese Spread says Milky Way, and that is correct. All right, jump into this next question here. Kind of trivia. We're going to speed it up here. So paranormal. We're going back to paranormal. What is the term for the ability to communicate with spirits? What is the term for the ability to communicate with spirits? Let's see who's getting that. Van Gogh. Van Gogh gets the gold. It is mediumship. Mediumship would be the answer. Great, Van Gogh. Nice. All right. Another UFO question here. Which U.S. president signed the Space Act creating NASA? Which U.S. president signed the Space Act creating NASA? I see what you're trying to say, Toth Man. We'll give it to you. It is Eisenhower. You got to get your spelling on, though, Toth Man. I know you can spell better than that. I know you can spell better than that. It is Eisenhower, or whatever you put here. All right. So, next one's going to be another cryptid question. What is the name of the large winged creature said to terrorize the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia in the 1960s? Winged creature, Point Pleasant in the 1960s. Oh, always Paramar stole it from you this time. You almost had it. It is the Mothman, and you would figure the Mothman would always be the first to answer that, but he never is. So congratulations, Paramar, for snatching it from the Mothman again. Maybe one day you'll get it, Mothman. All right. Let's get to another space question here. Which NASA mission was the first to land humans on the moon? What NASA mission was first to land humans on the moon? Yeah, Joe Monk, I can't do 11. Lex Diaz, I can't just do Apollo. So we got to give it to Toth Man. Apollo 11. Apollo 11 was supposedly the first mission to land the people on the moon. Now we can go jump down a rabbit hole like we talked about with our guest earlier today. But we'll give that to Toth Man. All right. Back to paranormal. Who is the famed paranormal investigator couple that worked on the Amityville and Enfield poltergeist cases? Famed paranormal investigator couple who worked on the Amityville and Enfield poltergeist cases. Yep, we'll go with that, Para. We'll go with that. The Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, to be exact. We'll go with the Warrens. Let me make sure I tag the right one here. All right, we may go a few minutes over the time. We'll be okay, though. I just want to make sure we get enough questions to give everyone a chance. So, all right. So the Warrens is good. Okay. UFO. What does UFO stand for? What does UFO stand for? This is entry level questions here. And I think Joe Monk got it. It's an unidentified flying object. That was a gimme. Everyone should have been putting that in. Unidentified object, Joe Monk. That's right. You got it. You got it. Let's go ahead and get into the next question here. We'll do a few more here. We're going to jump back into cryptids. What is the name of the mythical bird that regenerates or is reborn from its ashes? What is the name of the mythical bird that regenerates or is reborn from its ashes? Puck elf. Puck Elf got it all the way from the other side of the world. Puck Elf gets it with Phoenix. It is Phoenix. Rise like a phoenix, right? What they say. All right, great, Puck Elf. Thanks for that. Next question is going to be another space question. Pretty simple, I would think. We'll see. What is the largest planet in our solar system? It's got to be. Come on, largest planet in our solar system. We're not talking about Nibiru or Planet X. Let's see. Let me see who got it first, according to YouTube chat. And thank you, Kurt M. Says sweet music. Thank you, Kurt M. It is our trivia song here, so let me go ahead and get it. Okay, Mothman. Chat is moving fast, so let me make sure. But Mothman just insists on spelling incorrectly. I don't know. You got to get that checked out, Mothman. But you are correct. All right, back to paranormal. In paranormal lore, what is the purpose of a Ouija board? In paranormal lore, what is the purpose of a Ouija board? Yep. See, I think Joe Monk got it here. Is definitely to talk to the dead. It is essentially what it is. So the actual answer is to communicate with the spirits. So I think that's close enough to job Joe Monk. All right. Another UFO question. Who is the physicist known for his work on UFO phenomena and for claiming to have worked on alien technology at Area 51? What is the name of the physicist known for his work on UFO phenomena for claiming to have worked on alien technology at Area 51? Yes, you got it. Now, I don't know who Bob Lazat is, to my man. I'm not doing that this time. Lex Diaz, Bob Lazar is the correct answer. Jim Goodall's friend. And I just don't know who Bob Lazat is. I'm sorry, to my man. I will give it to you. But that's somebody new. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I gave him too many Paramore, too many misspells, right? Let me see. All right, let's go UFO question. No, actually, cryptid question. Let's see. Let me make sure it's one that you guys know. Okay, what is the Loch Ness Monster often referred to as? What is the Loch Ness Monster referred to as? Nickname. Make it easy. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think my man's trying to take it home tonight, guys. Who's going to stop him from doing it? Actually, let me see. YouTube chat. Let me make sure. Yeah, YouTube chat says Mothman was the first to answer that. I don't see him in this chat, though. Very weird. Okay, Mothman, you weren't listed in the StreamYard chat, so I can't tag you on that. Here, I'll just do this. I'll do this. Okay. All right, and let's do like two more. Okay, space question. What planet is known as the Red Planet? What planet is known as the Red Planet? All right, so Mothman again with Mars. trying to run away with it. So what I'm going to do, just so you know, dead fish cheese spread, the YouTube chat showed like 4 other people ahead of you in YouTube. So not sure what that's about. Mothman got Mars. All right. And last question here. Last question. What is the name of the prison believed to be haunted in San Francisco Bay? What is the name of the prison believed to be haunted in San Francisco Bay? Okay, I think we got it here. So let me see. Alcatraz. So here's what we'll do. I'm pretty sure we know who won this, but we're going to go ahead and check. So let me go ahead and tally up the votes here. I don't think it's going to be close, actually. But we shall see. All right, so let's see. Okay, so we got Christine with 1. Okay, we got Christine with 1. We got Mothman with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's more than half of the questions that I asked. So obviously the winner tonight is Mothman. Now you will have a chance to redeem yourself because we will be back on Wednesday, filling in for Dave Scott. Hour 3, we'll mix it up. We may do some more of the same. So you have a chance to redeem yourself and get ready, get prepared to dethrone Mothman. But we definitely want to give Mothman the congratulations tonight for winning the trivia. And I'm going to get ready to wrap this thing up. So let's cut the music here. All right. And what we want to do, we want to thank our guests, first of all, Karen Hill, who came in. Fantastic interview. Do appreciate the information on the Atlantian crystal spheres. Awesome show once again. Hour number 3. Thank you, Lon Strickler, for PhantomandMonsters.com. Some fantastic stories. In the meantime, I'll be working on my camera, obviously. But I do appreciate everyone who came in. Let me go ahead and thank our super chatters, which is T. Toey, Kira, I Am, Carl Bittner, and T-Bone. We do appreciate your support of Spaced Out Radio. To all the space travelers out there, since you're already a space traveler, consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join our SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 buckaroonies a month by joining our Patreon. To all our viewers and listeners around the globe, thank you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, you ask? We own the night. Let's get up out of here.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right. Dave Scott may be in tomorrow. If not, maybe me, but I'll definitely see you guys on Wednesday. You guys take care. Until then, we own the night, guys.
All we have is desire. God forbid say nothing.